All right, XL2 coming out often as they have here in Nepal, and since Nene is in play, I think we can safely assume this is on West. And this is still a little bit different than if you were to run things out and you had, say, it was Flower on Tracer. Nene is the stronger of the two Tracers, and for now, XL2 going to stick with this idea of leaving Mangachu on the Sombra.
Yeah, so it's going to be Nenechu versus Reachster. The opposite end, not similar compositions at all, as Reach is, of course, picking up the Genji instead of that Sombra here. So we'll see if they can contest, make sure that he can't get the Mega Health Pack control. It looks like he's already gotten it, though, for XL2.
XL2 not really going to be diving in too hard. The onus is more on LNL. You're running a super heavy dive comp, and Decon just gets ripped up on diving in. Barely able to escape with his life here. You don't see anyone chase him down from the XL2 side. Nene decides, nah, not going to go for that. Both teams being relatively passive in the moment. LNL, though, they've had a chance to fully heal up. They can dive back into XL2 here. You see Midnight getting pushed back, Nene getting checked by Dummy, but Decon on the other end, caught out. Both teams down to Winston early on, and XL2 fighting for position here, but they do have more people on the point, and with Fry ganking back to his Nene, applying pressure from the back, aided by the Discord Orb and the hack, now XL2 has enough to work with where they can probably start pushing this in their favor, but it's very close, it's very tentative on the sides, and Nene just caps Kevster from the back.
Yeah, Goliath does use the Transcendence into that, but they just want to secure that fight, so just using the one ultimate now Reach, though, he finds his window, never mind, he finds a sandal slipper to the face, and he will fall. And so XL2 will be able to hold on.
You say he found a window, but it was more like finding a glass-colored wall. Just slamming right into it, was not able to make anything happen. And XL2, in a long, protracted fight, they do win it out, and they're in a good spot for the next fight.
They are, but LNL coming to this one. They're going to have both support ultimates, so they can try and extend this out. Reach is at 23%, but we've seen what some good, really good Genjis can do. Build up that blade super fast, but it might just get shut down. Mangachu is ready. He's got that EMP. He's getting to the back. Never mind, his stealth is interrupted.
Yeah, he just got hit by a little bit poke, so the idea of opening up with the EMP here, he has to wait. Meanwhile, oh, they bury her first. That could be bad. The EMP comes out, strips all of it down, aside from Ajax and Dummy, but it hit the front line hard. They went in way deeper than they normally would be. The EMP ruins their day, and they should have known it because they saw Mangachu trying to set up. XL2 punishing LNL for that engage.
That was a very awkward timing coming out from LNL. Like you had mentioned, they saw Mangachu coming in. He wasn't able to make the approach because he was de-stealth. But you just know at that point, it was already around 40% for XL2. It was a really long, of course, first fight before the point even unlocked. They should know that an EMP was in play. You do not go after using either of your support ultimates. And so now they are reset. Goliath's going to have his trance while Reach has his blade, so there is an answer for that.
Nene has the pulse bomb ready, and you saw him just looking for the triple blink opportunity. Instead, can he find Kevster? No, he decides he doesn't want to fight that. Meanwhile, Reach, backline, finds Adam immediately, has to dash away from the self-destruct. Is he gonna get Midnight? No, not quite. He's not able to finish off Midnight before he remechs. The fight, though, overall still going well. Mangachu was trying to get that last little bit towards EMP. Didn't get it. The point flips back towards LNL, but it's Nene on the side. 1, 2, bringing XL2 right back into the fight. They don't have control here, though, and the goal is just to kind of stagger LNL and wait for reinforcements to come back in. And what better to reinforce? They have the EMP from Mangachu coming right back in and just drops it raw on the point. I guess when you really want to get rid of a Winston, you do it, and it might be enough.
Yeah, Ajax even gets hacked there individually as Kevster and Fry try to fight this back, but with Ajax gone, they're running out of support. Dummy, though, he's going to be there with his team as Kevster and Reach still putting his team on their back. So this keeps LNL's hopes alive here on Shrine as they force them away. What looked like a great fight for XL2, they thought they had the man advantage. They were going to try and push in 4v3. It wasn't enough because Kevster and Reach just had heroic performances.
Well, it's also telling in their mindset where you just decide to use EMP, one of the most valuable ults in the game, on a Winston on the point, not really taking into account, hey, there's going to be more people joining later. I don't think that was a great move, but XL2, they do another shot here. They're going to be moving back in. You know, wait for the primal rate from Flowman. He's going to get that, so he can be more aggressive moving on forward. Going to force the Transcendence at Dummy. The barrier invested. XL2 yet to get a single kill, though, during all this. Now Reach, he can wait. A barrier up. He didn't get the barrier, but he still might bring up the plate as Kevster goes wild into the back. It's a double dive from Kevster and Fried that just decimate XL2. Really nice management from LNL there.
So now at 72%, it's coming down to the final fight, XL2 versus LNL. To see starts it off with the first point here on Nepal. Decod coming up with this Primal Rage. Fried is getting closer to his self-destruct, so they can really try and just stall this out. But Mangachu might be able to shut it all down as he's 10% away from his EMP. Ooh, Dummy and Ajax took a lot of damage there. Dummy actually getting hunted down.
Mangachu almost got taken down, and he does get taken down. Kevster finishes him off. No EMP for XL2, and what is a crucial fight for the win. Now, Nene was able to compensate with Midnight, right? They got to the back, they got two. Reach under pressure, gonna get healed up, just waiting with the blade. Pulse bomb in from Kevster, blows up Clone Man sky high. XL2 trying to come back in, but the blade from Reach like a dagger into the heart. Diving through, going to be forcing the self-destruct out. And even though Midnight gets Ajax, it's LNL working at a huge edge. The EMP had to work into a decimated team. And now LNL still fighting back. Dummy swapping to 76 last moment. And the round goes the way of LNL.
And these are the members that we were looking for, Kevster and Reach. They've had some great performances, not as quite consistent throughout the entire season, but their highs have definitely been high. And this is the performance that they need if they're gonna beat XL2.
Well, it was sort of, it was both-way exchange going into the end there, where Kevster had a nice pickup on the Mangachu, but the reality is that when you have EMP as Sombra, your only job is to not get picked off before the fight. You should not put yourself in a position where you're going for extra poke and you just die. Mangachu did that, and that's why they didn't have the EMP for that fight, which otherwise should have been easier for them.
So swap-offs now coming out as LNL are going to be the team to pick up the Sombra. That's Reach going over for XL2, though. They're going to run the triple tank combination. We saw this earlier on in our first Nepal map. It's Nene this time to pick up the Reaper.
All right, XL2 moving right back in. Mangachu on the Roadhog, a hero that he is still very, very good at. People tend to forget the power of Mangachu's Hog. LNL going to try and approach this from over the top, but you see this tanky setup coming in from XL2 where you run triple tank backed up by the Reaper, and you have to be careful about how you dive in. You don't want to give up a hook or an early pickoff. And XL2, much like the Grizzlies before, they're just going to walk onto the point, make LNL contest them, and LNL can't! An early take by XL2, and they're looking very secure.
Yeah, I like how teams have adjusted here. If they're going to try and run that triple tank composition, just run to the mini health pack room. Don't fight until you're ready and the point has unlocked. That means you have a lot more longevity on the hook. Excuse me, Reach is there to shut down Mangachu, and so now it's a 5v6 in favor of LNL, but they're still not making ingress onto the point quite yet.
Not quite, but they get the hack from the Clone Man. He can't bring up the shield, just instead gonna be like, all right, I swing hammer now. But in the Coalescence, still makes it safe for XL2 in and of the moment. Now, Adam got picked off on the other side. LNL desperately trying to move their way in. The Pulse Bomb connects, and now LNL slowly but surely whittling down XL2. They get control of the point.
But this is almost exactly what happened in our first map there. Wow. Okay, XL2 somehow bringing this back. Now, Mangachu, he was hacked, but Nene is right there to cover to Mangachu's retreat, Decod falling. And so XL2, just like that, I don't want to call it surgical because it's double shotguns coming out from Nene, but he was able to pick apart the members of LNL and fight it back in favor of XL2.
Oh, that is why you don't use that ability. That is one of the least effective abilities in Overwatch most of the time, especially if you get caught out. Shadow Step and caught. So Nene out of the fight, had a Death Blossom ready. This gives LNL an enormous opportunity. And now when you look where Reach is, right? Who's he going to drop an EMP on for the moment? For now, he's waiting. Oh, this is going to be big. It's 3 people with the EMP. LNL moving on forward. And again, it's because they picked off Nene early on. Nene got caught repositioning, and they just cleave their way on through.
Still, they did have to, of course, invest the Coalescence along with the EMP. So Reach, it's going to be a while before he's activated once again. XL2, look to them just to speed boost onto the point, and especially try to utilize and leverage Nene with that Death Blossom now. It's going to come down to Ajax. He has to be careful not to get picked off before any of that happens.
XL2 looking for their way in here. They have both Coalescence about to have a sound barrier to back things up, and they just open up with the whole on. Kevster drops the Pulse Bomb, but you see the Coalescence keeping everyone alive. Not quite there, but you see Midnight getting chunked down. Clone Man in trouble. The dive from LNL doing quite a bit of damage. They deal with the tanks. They demech Midnight, and that's going to be enough. Where that's sort of a testament to sound barrier and Coalescence is nowhere near as strong at holding off a dive as, say, Transcendence would be in that same situation.
Yeah, Transcendence along with just Fried with that defense matrix eating everything up. The whole hog out from Mangachu really didn't get much done. Didn't even get his, enough displacement there. And so Nene is still holding on to that Death Blossom. Clone Man, he's got the Earth Shatter, but he doesn't have the targets quite there. Death Blossom comes on out, but Mangachu already took out Dummy.
Well, they caught Dummy, and that's a big part there, is that you don't have that healing. The fight, Clubman says, had enough, drops the hammer, takes Fried for a ride right into the back wall. He has the self-destruct, but no way of getting out. Still somehow catches Goliath, who wasn't able to get away. The big part, though, is that XL2 got control of the point, and they still only need one fight, but I wonder how LNL is going to deal with this here. Do they full reset? Do they stagger on in? I do think they're going for full reset.
Ajax is close to the Transcendence for this next fight. He's going to go up against, of course, the Self-Destruct and Goliath's Coalescence. But we'll see if Ajax can buy enough time. So many of the members of LNL use their ultimates in their last fight. It's going to be a while before they can, but they need to get onto the point right now. They don't have a while.
95% for XL2. XL2, again, just one fight for them here to take this. LNL not working with much. Look at Ajax. Needs to build Transcendence up. 98, 99. Is he going to pass into the Iris? He does, but not before Dummy's taken down. The self-destruct caught Dummy on the outskirts, and you see XL2 burn everything they have. Whole hog coming in, forcing LNL back. And it's looking like XL2 is going to be bringing this to a round number 3 as the leftovers are simply left discarded.
So again, it came down to just XL2 playing that very smart at the beginning. They got the extra 30% on the onset of Village here. Just because they played it smart, they went into the mini health pack room. They didn't give over any unneeded ultimate charge over to LNL. And then, of course, Nene had that heroic play on the Reaper where even though they were down, he was able to make it there and pick off 2 key members. I believe it was Decod and someone else. That allowed them to flip it right back over almost immediately. Now, as we move on to Sanctum, of course, this is a composition that we have been seeing here of quite frequently the Widowmaker and the Junkrats for both sides.
You know, one thing that is linked between the two teams? The team which ran the Sombra lost.
That's right, actually.
Daily Sombra report. LNL moving in, XL2 the same, and this is definitely more Mangachu's comfort zone. Where you put him on a Junkrat, and look, he used to run it on this map way before it was meta. That's how comfortable he is with Rat on this map. Now that I've just built him up, watch him get picked off early here by Reach on the other side. A lot of good poke coming in from Reach. It was good positioning, but while that goes on, Ajax gets caught, Adam gets caught, both Widows striking, and Kevzer strikes a little bit harder, and 4 on 4 for both sides, but Nene's going to be up and around as the Widow in the back line because he won the Widow v Widow duel, and it's working out. Gets Reach towards the very end, and Nene just very slightly putting it over the top as XL2 should be able to move on to the point.
Yep, they are picking them off one by one. LNL had no support on the point. So now we're seeing some swap-offs coming out from them. Reach is going over to the Genji. Doesn't want to try and play a Junkrat into this now that he doesn't have that position. He wants to just go full-out dive and apply pressure onto Mangachu. Nene held pretty far aggressively with this Widowmaker here on the right-hand side. This isn't an angle a Widowmaker usually holds, so I like it, but he will back away to a more standard, tried-and-true angle.
Well, the reason why he's going Genji here is that Nene isn't swapping up the Widow anytime soon. You go to Genji, you have a better way of applying pressure in the back. Nene already under pressure for the Tracer. Likely that Reach is going to be coming around the other side. Midnight gets chunked down immediately, demeched very early on this fight. Mangachu, though, has a lot of room on that left flank. So Nene, while he's fighting stuff in the back, you see Mangachu having loads of room to work with. Hasn't done too much with it here yet, but neither has LNL. Oh, and now Reach, under pressure, just barely going to be able to get away. Mangachu in the other side wants to take this fight in close quarters. A little bit better for a Junkrat in this situation. And the bottom line here is, as chaotic as that was, LNL wasn't really able to make XL2 blink.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure being applied onto Reach, excuse me, not onto Reach, but onto Nene by Reach, and along with Pride just a bit. The thing is, you need your Diva consistently there for the damage mitigation. Otherwise, you see something like Mangachu just going off. Now Reach had taken out Nene.
That's why he went there. He wanted to get rid of Nene in that fashion. Forces Adam the Resin back up. Goliath covering the Transcendence, so XL2 still in a good shape, able to bring up the Fawn. Here comes the Blade. One more time, heading for Nene. Ends up missing towards the end. Has to deflect late, and Goliath takes down Reach. So close, yet so far.
There we go,
connects. Adam out of the fight, but it might not matter. The rest of the fight's going far in XL2's favor, and they didn't even have to use the tile.
That was a little hard to watch because Reach just had both of them one swipe away, but he went after the target that actually had the heals, which was Nene. If he had gone after Adam, it might have been a completely different story there, but now it's coming down to the wire. 95% XL2 are making their way back on in with the full forces as LNL are going to go for a last-ditch effort. Here comes the Riptire from Mangachu.
Late tire in from Mangachu, using the pit for cover, not looking for gold, not going to explode that gold cash, but instead, moving around the side, he'll even take 1 second left, finds Reach back on the point. Better late than never. And XL2 firmly getting the kills they need in this fight. LNL running out of options just to delay. Nene looking at Tracer, and Tracer's gonna be taken down. It's XL2 taking the first map.
We saw XL2 kind of have a little bit of a run for their money there with LNL in the very first round of that. Who are they disrespecting? Like, why did that turn the way? Because obviously XL2 ended up just kind of dominating in the last 2 points. So what were they not doing in the first one?
ZP like hit the nail on the head, right? The Sombra play wasn't spectacular coming up from either team. It was XL2 that tried to run it on Shrine, and Mangochi just wasn't really able to do much, especially in the first fight. He was having difficulty just trying to find any damage to try and build up that EMP, which with the new spread, you should be able to just focus down the tanks with it and get a lot of EMP charge up.
Well, in particular, too, I mean, XL2 could have turned that back in the way. It wasn't the absolute worst from Mangochi's Sombra in the beginning, but then what happens, right? You have an EMP charged up, and it was said mid-cast, you have one job there. That is to be safe, use the EMP, hit 2 or 3 people, and let it be done. And he ends up dying to Kevster, which, look, great job to Kevster, good heads-up play to finish off Sombra. The reality is, though, is that Mangochi should never have been in a position to get picked off in that moment. And historically, XL2 just hasn't had great Sombra play. When they play other compositions that they're more comfortable on, that Mangochi looks very good at, they do better. End of story.
Yeah, right here we're looking at some Kevster Tracer replay.
This was the point again. You know, correlation might not be causation, but it's making a good case at this point. Reach did try to play the Sombra into it, but ultimately it did not work out for them. There was just too much sheer power coming out from that triple tank Nene on the Reaper composition for XL2. I don't know. I'm still not sold on the Sombra yet.
We saw there in the towards the end of the very last fight on that the last point that Reach had his blade out, and I think he was focusing down. Was it Mercy pocketing Junkrat?
It was Nene and Mercy, yeah.
Okay, so you said that if he had just chosen to go to one or the other, I can't remember who it was.
If he had focused the Mercy down, it would have been over. Like, he would have gone that, got the dash reset, and got the double kill.
So then I guess that's my question for you guys. In that situation, do you always want to go for the healer, or is it always situational?
Contextual based at all times. It's sort of, can you kill someone? The answer is you should probably deal with them, get your dash reset, and go for the next one, because Genji is a snowball here in those situations, right? Where you get the first kill, you can reset, you get more mobility. What you don't want is a situation where you try and finish off one person, you can't, and then they get away to where you're unable to hit them with another slash, because then you're not going to get your dash reset, and, well, then you're just stuck holding a sword while people just kill you.
Yeah, he did actually get, I believe it was a third swipe off onto Nene, but that entire time he was being pocketed, right?
Yeah.
As a Genji, what you really want to do is, you know, slash dash, wall climb, animation castle slash, right? That's like the really quick way. But the thing was, there was always just enough distance for Nene to get healed up again that even though he was able to land a second consecutive slash, it just wasn't in sequence. It wasn't fast enough for them. So at that point, you needed to go on to the Mercy instead, because the Mercy wasn't getting her passive healing. So that would have been the kill that you get the confirm, that you get the dash reset, and then you get to reprioritize a different target.
To be clear, I don't think all of that is necessarily on Reach either. If you think about the best dives you see in Overwatch, it's rarely just one dude making it happen. Oftentimes, a good dive in with Dragon Blade, you'll see a Winston or a Diva or the other flanker coming in and finishing that off in the moment to allow that play to continue. In this case, it was sort of Reach going in on his own, did not get proper support, and look, it was on a razor's edge, but if he had a little bit more from his team on either end, that ends up being an entirely different game.
If it wasn't a full health 2v1. Okay, so we have some replay here. We talked a lot about seeing Sombra on both teams. This is Sombra, this is Mangochi on Sombra. Talk a little bit about how this could have been more effective or how it wasn't very effective in this moment.
I mean, there were some good moments, right? We saw a sound barrier come in where he dropped the EMP, and I believe the sound barrier hit 6 people, but the EMP hit 4, so that's a pretty good value EMP at that point when you strip that much shield off of the opposing team. So there were good moments, and then there were just other moments where it took way too long for Mangochi to ramp up with it.
Well, to be specific, you touched on the one good EMP he had, where I think the offensive LNL should have realized, wait, there's the EMP, maybe not engage with sound barrier to a Sombra, but then what are the other 2 EMPs? You EMP a solo Winston, and it's just like, okay, you've killed Winston, but what about all the people coming back onto the point? and then the non-EMP where you get picked off in a fight where all you had to do is land an even halfway decent EMP to make it work. The bottom line is that Mangachu on Sombra oftentimes has decisions that don't make sense or he gets caught out of position. It's just, for how good he is on other heroes, Sombra has never been a comfort pick for him.
Yeah, I think with that solo EMP onto the Winston, it was also because Dummy was there with Lucio, or I forget, Ajax or Dummy was there with the Lucio, and I think he was trying to get him too because, you know, Lucio now with the new EMP, with the new hacks, it does interrupt the wall ride, and so he wouldn't be able to stall by going around on the pillar or timing it again. So I think that's what he was trying to shoot for, but it was definitely a very, like, I want to say 75-25, more in the, it's going to fail range if you're going to try and hit that Lucio with the EMP.
All right, so here we are heading to Hollywood and straight into game. So we are going to go ahead and roll it on into the action. Here we are, just kidding. Oh wait, here we are, we're back. XL2 Academy versus LNL 1-0.
Well, I think we might be on the East Coast here. Wild guess, because we now have Flower in, and he's going to be playing hit scan Mangachu on his normal projectile. I think if we were on West, we might actually be seeing Flower on the Junkrat and Nene on the hit scan. So a little bit of a change up here, and you know, sometimes flowers need to bloom.
Yeah, indeed, but the Flower, this is where he wants to bloom with the Cowboy as he picks up the McCree now. And so I like this defensive setup coming out from XL2. We'll see how good Clone Man's halts are to try and mitigate a lot of the dive that comes out from LNL. I don't think they're going to go for a quad DPS setup, even though my experience in ranked tells me this is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually pure ranked mode right now.
Yeah.
LNL, they have just queued up. They are ready to go. They can't decide who's going to be playing tank, but of course, the last minute guild switch, Decod is going to be muting all these players immediately after, because how dare you?
Yeah, it's just a full dive coming out from LNL here, and so they do have to be careful. They know that the halt is on cooldown now, so this is a good time for them to make their approach and actually get in onto the point, make some ingress, but they need to prioritize their threat, right? Flower and Mangachu. You don't want to allow Mangachu to just get free damage off, but you also don't want to try and just dive him because you might run right into a steel trap.
There's a lot of good pick-off threats here, whether it be Junkrat, where you get hit by a trap or a mine, McCree, where you dive too deep, you get hit by a flashbang, and certainly you have the threat of a hook. Always. There's Midnight under pressure, Leon, but look at how damaged LNL is as they move in. Decod, though, still in a decent spot, but it's Ajax on the side. Flower just gonna dink him in the head, and XL2, they took cover in the cafe, and they move right on out. Big props to Flower, just getting the early pick-off to make that happen.
Reach almost drops there. Oh, there's a halt, but he's not able to connect with the shots. Adam goes ahead and gets the resurrection back onto Mangachu. So now LNL, they know that at least there's a resurrection out of play as they come in for this next fight.
And Mangachu didn't get much done in that fight, only 35%. It wasn't the most impressive get a tire up, but here comes Reach diving in and immediately down, walks into the concussive vine, in and out. That was the name of the game there as XL2 just easily wins this fight. Oh my word.
Yeah, LNL got nothing out of that fight. They go for a blade, and they didn't even try. They didn't even get something like the whole hog or the Valkyrie out from Adam. So XL2 are in a really great spot here. This is where they stabilize and they can rotate their ultimates to try and extend this lead even further. LNL are now down to 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Dummy's 10 seconds away from having that Transcendence. They need to buy time for him to get some extra heals or some orbs off. This
is kind of a trap for them, though. If they go into Transcendence, I'm not sure this fight is really going to work out well for them. They already lose Kevster, so if you're planning on using it, you probably don't want to use it now. Decod going to roll to the back, looking for a pickoff at the very least, but you look at the timing. Flower stays with the supports, he gets healed up. XL2 unblemished on this defense here so far, and Decod just has to back out.
And that was just a smart play from Flower, right? Because Mangachu already controls the space basically there in the courtyard with that Junkrat. So Flower holds his position right to the left of the screen where Mangachu is standing. Tracer tries to make her way through security, that door you see right in front of you, and he's there with a flashbang headshot. And so it was just great control of space out from Flower.
It's taken a really long time, but Mangachu does have a tire up for this next fight. XL2 is working with a whole lot of power, and oh my goodness, is this a new definition of high noon? Flower looking to take the elevator here. Get the highest of McCree's perhaps, as the tire from Mangachu looks to buy a little bit of room, a little bit of space, and does not get much of anything. Goliath down early in this fight, and Flower decides now not taking the elevator. It's gonna be high noon right from the ground floor. Got the baby diva in the back, and XL2 able to clean up, mostly taking cover in the cafe.
Yeah, Adam was able to res Goliath back into this, so they have all the sustain, they have the firepower, and now we're down to the last minute. But LNL, they have been baking up their ultimates. They're going to have a Blade along with the Self-Destruct, Transcendence, and the Sound Barrier out from Ajax. They were able to get a lot out from XL2 Academy here. It's going to come down to Goliath. He's going to have to make sure that they stay alive during this brink moment.
Oh no, they've been saving for this opportunity. This is the fight they absolutely must win. Reach, just holding on to Blade. Doesn't want to repeat last time, doesn't want to step on a landmine courtesy of Mangachu. Meanwhile, LNL, they have to make a move. They're going to start out the barrier. Now they dive on in. Reach, waiting for his time. Back of the cafe. How long is he going to wait? I think he thinks that Goliath has a Transcendence here, which he does, so he doesn't use it immediately. They don't get anything off the barrier. LNL, now they have to commit with the Transcendence. They have yet to kill anyone in this fight. Goliath is still in Transcendence. Oh, the tire in the back, man. You got 3. What a tire to put an end to the leftovers here. 2 seconds left, but there's no way they can bring this back. A Blade in the cafe and nowhere to go. Reach will fall. And the hold comes out for XL2.
And the patience coming out from Goliath that entire time. You see Midnight and Clone Math both sitting around 150, 200 HP. 9 times out of 10, I'm going for that trance, but he's held on to it the whole time. Do you know why? Because, well, Adam needed to build up the Valkyrie just in case, and so he was able to keep them pocketed, keep them alive. It was just a really good understanding coming out from the XL2 squad that they didn't need to use that trance, and they can try and extend their lead out further, build up Adam's Valkyrie. Ultimately, they didn't need it, but by the end, Adam was at 90% towards the Valk while Goliath used that trance.
Look, I'll bring this down to an even more basic level here, is that if you're gonna use Sound Barrier, at least make the other team use their support ult in return. LNL, they opened with the barrier, and they didn't pressure XL2 enough to the point that Goliath had to pull the trigger. Then they use the Transcendence, and they still don't draw out Goliath's Transcendence, and eventually it puts XL2 in a moment where they can use the Transcend, move back the other way, and oh, by the way, the tire killed 3 people as well. So, to a degree, you have to force a response from the other team when you use these support ultimates, and LNL's engage was not good enough to accomplish that goal.
What they did accomplish was getting 36.8% on the board, so there's some progress, 3.8% worth, but that is not where you want to sit right now. I mean, LNL, their playoff chances, I believe, are just mathematically over because they needed a 4-0 up against XL2. XL2 will maintain their 4th place position. It just means how many more maps they get. They might be able to push themselves up to the 3rd place position here. Yeah, XL2, they want this match victory, though, just for pride.
Yeah, pride still matters, and also, you take a look at both teams. I mean, even as LNL will not be heading into the playoffs, at a minimum, you still want to look as good as possible. And I think LNL is still in that zone where they're good enough that they can probably get back in, although it's not quite as guaranteed for them as it might be for the Grizzlies.
And so XL2, this is what we expect out of them. Mangachu going over to the Pharah, while LNL are running a very similar composition to XL2's defense now. It is that Junkrat and McCree out for them. Mangachu just peeking over the top here, trying to get some free damage boosted rockets off. They still having difficulty with it because Fried is on the D.Va, so there's a bit more damage mitigation this time around for LNL's defense.
And XL2, the pressure is off here. All they need is one good fight. They are playing relatively cautiously around Reach's Junkrat here, but Flower in the back. What a blank. Gets right out of the flashbang where that could have been deadly. Saw Kevster coming a mile away. XL2 now playing the pressure. Mangachu on the top. Gets taken down by Kevster. The rocket came in, but the Mangachu ended up going out. Now, he gets rezzed in the moment. Coleman gives up his life for that, but the Pharah threat is back in and it gets decon. The sky is no longer safe for LNL, and slowly but surely, Mangachu is bringing this one back in. Needs to land one rocket to Kevster and does! Down he goes, and XL2 gonna get the tick they need, and they get the map.
Yeah, I mean, that was the crucial pickoff, right? You need to get rid of Decod. That was the person that was really able to mitigate a lot of that damage. You saw in that choke point, that entire time, the Theresa barrier was there. As soon as she was gone, Mangachu knew everyone's about to die.
And more importantly there, you also need to not let the resurrection happen.
Yeah.
You gotta think that a Mercy's gonna be rezzing the Pharah. Well, protect that, confirm your kill. Don't just go, oh, there's a take here, we'll do it, because if they got Adam there, not only does Mangachu not come back up, but that fight goes very differently.
It seemed like LNL had a bit of kind of a disintegration in their teamwork, or not in their teamwork, but their team communication. What could they have done to try and come back together? Because it started to really fall apart there at first point Hollywood, but you even saw it all the way back on Nepal with 3rd point Nepal.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is that I'm not sure if it's communication, but it's more just the idea that when you use ultimates, you need to commit with them.
Yeah.
And I think back to their final attack where you use barrier, everyone's on board and they're looking to go in, and then you blink. You blink and you don't force anything out. It doesn't, even if you don't get the best engage possible, you need to make the other team respect it enough to the degree that they go, oh, okay, at least I have to run this here. And LNL, their engages were just scattered to the point that they weren't really getting much off their support ults when realistically, you should be at least getting trades.
Yeah, that sound barrier lasted longer than, like, I want to say when I get booped as a Lucio and I'm trying to cast it, right? But, like, those are the longest moments of your life. And I'm just watching the shield just count down very slowly. No damage is going across to the other side. I'm looking at the health bar the entire time. Nothing happened. Absolutely no damage went across during that sound barrier. And then, of course, following it up, you know, throwing good money after bad with that Transcendence is not something that they should have gone into.
Yeah.
Well, you'd think you'd be close enough to deep dive after that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, Goliath still gets to save his Transcendence. He's like, nah, I'm good.
On the side of XL2, Mangachu's Junkrat was also kind of key to helping them hold their defensive position the whole time.
I mean, again, we were talking about comfort picks, and with Flower coming in, I definitely did not want to see him on the Tracer because he is much better on roles like the like the McCree, and we got to see why. He has a very good control and command over it, and he had a really great read up against the opposing Tracer. I mean, we were talking about that moment where he was able to get the flashbang headshot because she was trying to push in through security there. I mean, he just knew how to read the position, and he knows how to play McCree so much better than he does on the Tracer. So it was just comfort picks, getting to see him on the long-range hit scan, and of course, Mangachu on the projectile.
And to that point, Flower was able to get early pickoffs fairly frequently here, to the point that I think perhaps early on it wasn't necessarily super great for Mangachu because tire-wise, you think about it, took him like until about 1:30 to get his first tire, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of that was also due to the fact that Flower was just ending fights before the other team could dive in, so just kind of like, well, both ways. I mean, the Junkrat thrives when the team is together, and Flower's making sure they weren't together.
Yeah, I believe after the first fight, Flower was at about 70%, 75% towards his ultimate charge, while Mangachu was just sitting at about 25.
Yeah.
I say just, but yeah, ZP is right. Flower was just doing so much damage, and it's just the damage-boosted McCree, you know, having that Mercy there along with, of course, the Discord Orbs is so much damage.
Alrighty, we are going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we will see if XL2 can make this a clean sweep and move themselves up in the playoff seed. Stay tuned.